In the book of Ephesians, as in the Bible in general, and especially in Paul's epistles, the will of God is not so much about where does He want you to be at 3 o'clock this afternoon and what does He want you to eat. That's what we think about. We think, well, Lord, what do you want me to do? You want me to marry this one? You want me to marry that one? You want me to buy this car? You want me to go to that school? You want me to have this job? You want me to go... Now God has a will for all that. Who does He want you to marry? 1 Corinthians chapter 7, the last two verses. Only in the Lord. Other than that, whoever you want to. Big one, little one, fat one, skinny one, tall one, short one. Whatever you want. Dumb, smart. I mean, you pick the one you want. It's better to pick one you like. Okay? But those choices are yours. God says, here's who's on the stage that you can pick from. They've got to be a believer. If they're not a believer, they don't get on the stage. If they're on the stage, equal options. You make the choice. For years, I've talked to people in pre-marriage counseling. And you talk to them about this, that, and the next thing. And I always tell them toward the end, I say, you know, about 6 months after the wedding, I want to meet with you again. We'll go over this stuff again because then you'll listen to me. Before they got these eyes, they're just, you know, they're big eyes, you know, and he's looking at those big eyes and he's just in a fog and she's looking at him and she's batting her. And, you know, marriage is blind and love is blind and marriage is a great eye-opener. And you wake up and you begin to say, okay, now, where are we and what are we doing? And how did I get into this? And where'd you come from? And if you'd have known what the... And I always go back and say, you know, you stood there and said, I do. And I've told people you shouldn't, and I've never one time had them say, okay. Well, I think I know better. I said, well, have at it. The will of God isn't that kind of thing. In the Bible, the will of God is not what you're doing. The will of God is what He's doing. If you just get that shift in your mind. You say, but Brother Rick, I want to do the will of God. Then find out what God's doing. Let Him will and do that in you, and you'll be doing the will of God. See, if you learn to think like God thinks, when you go through the details of your life, you'll be able to think about them the way God thinks about them. And if you think about them the way God thinks about them, what will you do? Won't you do what God thinks? You will be doing the will of God in those circumstances. Not because you're looking for some prearranged life map that He set out over here for you to be in, but because you have the full sufficiency of an understanding of His will and His thinking, that you then have the skill and the capacity to go out and apply in the details of your life. That's why he says that he prays for the Philippians that their love would abound yet more and more in all knowledge and in all judgment. Discernment, the ability to take the knowledge and apply it to circumstances, that you may approve things that are excellent. God wants you choosing the thing of greatest value. Here, you've got everything off the stage up here that shouldn't be. Here's the stage of your life. You took everything off that shouldn't be there. Everything God says don't have in your life, you put away. You denied ungodliness and worldly lust. You took it out of the way. You took away ungodliness, all the satanic policy of evil, all the thinking of the adversary, you took out of your life. You took out the worldly lust, all of the course of this world. You took it all out. Nah, you don't belong in my life. You see it, you say, that right there in my life doesn't belong there. Out. How can I do that? Because the cross, by the cross, I'm crucified to the world, and the world unto me. I'm free. God's answer to sin is the cross, folks. Not your confession, not your work, and not your dedication. Just Calvary. And I'm just going to recognize that's not who I am. Get out of here. Why? It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of good space in my life. I could put something else there. You follow me? And then I'm going to live soberly, righteously, and godly. So I take off out of my life all the things that God says don't put there. And then I begin to put in them the things He says put there. And as I begin to add those things into my life, love, joy, peace, long-suffering. I live soberly, righteously, and godly. I live soberly. I think soberly, have a sober mind. I think in the reality of what God says. Righteously. I live with other people in that right activity. Godly. I live toward the Lord the way He says. The identity He gives me. I began to put that into my life. And as I do that, and I put those things, you know what that is? That's doing the will of God.